Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hello, changemakers. Welcome to the DEX Show. I'm Tom McGraw, as ever, joined by Tim Flower. Tim, how's it going?
It's going good, Tom. How about yourself?
It's going well. It's going well. I'm very excited to be joined by our guest, Antonio Santos. He is the Chief Social Media Evangelist at ATOS. Do I have that right, Antonio? I may have done a disservice.
I'm social media evangelist at ATOS, so we can drop the chief.
I got it. I momentarily misplaced my notes there, and I just had to pull from memory. But I'm glad I got it near enough. I mean, look, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on board, and I've personally worked with a lot of people from ATOS. Always find you inspiring collaborators. Tell us about actually, first of all, let's hear about something about yourself. You're Portuguese, I believe, and you live in Ireland, and your work has an intensely international focus. Is that an accurate description? And tell us about how you got to this particular working dynamic.
So I used to work in the telco business in Portugal, and at the time we were testing smartphones, looking at operating systems, trying to find what would be the best solutions for customers, and Siemens was in that business at the time, and we have those conversations at the water cooler between telcos and manufacturers, and it came to my attention that they were doing something interesting in Ireland, and from that conversation I end up being invited to work in one of their centers that they have in Cork, and then led me to move from Lisbon to Cork 16 years ago.
Yeah, Antonio, I know I'll echo Tom's comments. I've had the opportunity to work with many ATOS folks over the years. Always find everybody there, collaborative, intelligent, forward-looking. So tell us about your role with ATOS. How do you engage with enterprises and with people, especially as their workplaces are changing? How do you connect with people?
So I connect with people internally and externally. So I use social networks like Twitter and LinkedIn to connect with people, in an informal way. Sometimes not directly about work, just because that there's someone that works in New York. So what's going on in New York? What is happening in Madrid? So if connect with people, try to understand what are the trends that are taking place in their locations. It's particularly important because there's not really there's very important aspects of culture that impacts the way how we collaborate. So it's very important for you to be out there trying to engage with customers, with partners, basically with everyone who has an interest, just to drink from their knowledge. Because we cannot assume that when we are deploying technology that everyone is going to work in the same way. So it's pretty important that we are able to adjust and to dive into the way how people work, then to later better deliver the solutions that we have. And is I would call it kind of external listening. It's particularly important, and then doing the same internally. I have colleagues in different countries around the world. They are not near me. Many of them I never met them face to face. So it's particularly important to have this type of connections inside the organization, where you are able to show availability to talk with others. Because we know that in the times that we are in, sometimes our schedule is we have so many meetings that we don't have time to stop and thinking. And I think it's really important for us to have a coffee with someone that is based in India, just have a chit-chat conversation about what is going on there. So I found this kind of an informal way of communicating with individuals as something very important.
That's fascinating. I'm very struck looking into your work, Antonio, that you're kind of quite consistently involved in and obviously committed to the theme of inclusivity. Great theme. We want to discuss it here. I was interested to know, first of all, if there's a strong personal impetus for you in this theme and where that comes from.
Well, when I was a kid, growing in the south of Portugal, my mother used to was a nurse working in a hospital. and that it was a orthopedic hospitals, and they had a good number of employees, people working there who had disabilities, and they were the ones building the prosthetics. And for you as a kid that goes to a hospital where your mother works, it's normal for you. It's just another place to go, and you go there, you talk with people, you don't see, you don't see barriers, you don't see limits. They are just people who are there working. And then you start to when you end up grow up, you go to primary school, secondary, you start to realize that you are in the education system, and then people with learning disabilities are in a different system, and people with other physical disabilities are in another. We create all these barriers, who are not really, and that was something that frustrated me there, and something that I don't like. So my journey into this type of work relates with the fact that how can we drop the barriers between people instead of putting them into boxes? How we can find ways to be more aware of each other, and we know that as working in large organizations, we have people from different age groups, different generations, and while we grow, people might develop, might be sick, they might develop a disability. So it's very important that we when we are enabling technology, that we find ways that everyone can participate in the same way, everyone can share their experiences in their way. And so I found that's one of the it became something that goes back when I was telling you in that hospital when people were there working, and it's something that continued with me as a kind of a reason, because I've seen so many situations over the years at the enterprise where someone imposing a way of working to others, and then I say, okay, this is not going to end well. So I think it's and then people get frustrated. So I think it's pretty important that we're able to position ourselves in the position of the other person to try to understand how can we find ways where the technology works for the people, not for the technologists who want things to work in a certain way. So it became almost kind of a personal cause.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Tom and I find ourselves talking a lot about technology and how it interplays or intersects with something else, right? IT and remote work, IT and burnout, IT and HR collaboration. And one of the reasons we wanted to get you on the show was to learn about this intersection of technology and inclusivity. Start by painting a picture for us of where things stand right now.
Well, I think there's a kind of a reality check, is that we know that for many years, many organizations almost banned remote working. Though it was basically, sometimes it was almost exclusive from a certain number of individuals that will be allowed to work from home. And when we started forced by the pandemic to roll out remote work solutions and having people working from home, people start to realize that this could be also something that people with disabilities were claiming for many years. Many advocates in the space of disability, they were claiming, if I have the right accommodations to work from home, I can perform like anyone else. And sometimes this was something that was being denied by HR departments, even by people by CIOs. That was somehow denying this type of opportunity. Now that we are not all working from home, this is something that we realize that is actually achievable. And the fact that you are able to work from home, you are able to be in the kind of in the working environment that you are able to control, allows people with disabilities to perform like everyone else. So I think that's one of the areas where we see as an advantage, and also a way to bring innovation to organizations. It brings different people to be able to have a voice, to be able to participate and collaborate. That can help organizations to bring this knowledge to the way how they develop products. And I find it particularly important.
It's actually one of my next thoughts is it's not just about technology and its intersection. It's technology and influencing people's behavior, right? As you said, don't tell them how to work, give them some options, enable their creativity and allow them to work differently. And part of that starts with getting them to think differently. It's one of the fascinating parts of my job is getting people to think differently as we talk about different subjects. So what do you see the opportunities are? Are there similar opportunities around inclusivity, getting people to think differently about it, or even maybe just a significant future role for IT people?
Yes, I think it's particularly important to think differently because we know that if we move into this direction where we make inclusion as part of every organization, we are in a better position to understand the society around us. We are in a better position to understand our customers. And I think this is it's the right thing to do. It's powerful, and we need to value the humans all in the same way. So I found that this is an area that there are still so many things to do and explore. And like someone was saying, there was a conference that took place last week in Vienna at UN called the Zero Project, focus on people with disabilities, and Caroline Casey, the founder of Valuable 500, who is a group that is trying to bring together 500 CEOs to commit to disability at the boardroom level. She was saying, we are still at the beginning. And it's true that we are still at the beginning, but I feel that this is a new beginning because now large organizations are embedding this into their way of working. And we are having conversations about disability inclusion like we are having here today outside the regular places where people with disabilities often talking. So it's particularly important that all of us here today are having this type of discussion, is getting out of the silos where this conversation usually is.
Fantastic. I mean, listening to you, Antonio, from your childhood recollections around prosthetics specifically, as well as what you said about IT today, is it fair to say that you see technology as a facilitator of inclusiveness? And if so, where does that leave the wider theme of what we call here digital employee experience and its significance to users in general?
No, technology is definitely an enabler of inclusion. There's no doubt about that. We know that today, even with Microsoft Teams, you are able to enable captions, translations, and this makes a huge change for people who in the past were, for example, struggling to hear someone in a call. And this opens the door to create organizations and to make work more inclusive. We know that the design of tools and solutions also became more friendly for people who have different learning disabilities or are in the neurodiverse space. You have, for example, in the Edge browser, you are able to improve. You are able to have dictation. You are able to select a web page that dictates for you. It creates a better experience for you. Let's say if you are dyslexic, it's a lot better if you have the dictation. You don't have to struggle with the reading part. So I feel technology is definitely a great enabler. It's also also help us to democratize the access to knowledge to everyone. It could be in the technology world and outside the technology world.
That's great. And what are your general thoughts, Antonio, about the way that corporations today are really leading with values, not just even internally, but externally in their advertising and in their product development? What is happening in business and in the wider society, and where do you see it developing?
Well, in terms of purpose, what I found important to highlight is that those values also need to reflect the values of the employees and the workforce. So we can come in with all these external values, but the workforce and the employees, they need to feel that they are on board of those values, and the organization, the values that organization is trying to demonstrate outside, they always live those values internally. So we need to have that balance between what we aim externally with what we do internally. So it's very important that there is an alignment between both. And when that alignment exists, it means that in the day-to-day employee, or in the day-to-day of the life of those employees, when they are working with customers, when they are working with partners, when they are building products, those values will reflect in the products and services that people develop. And when we're able to achieve that, I think we're able to do something that can actually change the society around us. And if I look back, let's say 8-9 years ago, the topic of accessibility, how to make code or design solutions for people with disabilities, was something that you had to explain what accessibility was. And sometimes people would say, "Oh, accessibility, it's from going from A to B." No, it's about developing solutions for people with disabilities. So today, because of if you don't have to explain this as much as you have to do in the past. So I think we are moving in the good direction here, because many organizations are bringing these values in outside and internally. So it's employees are able to develop and become advocates of this type of solutions wherever they are.
So I know you're real passionate, as many of us at NextThink are, about social media, and especially around storytelling. The best way to connect with people is to not just tell them data, but tell the story, right? Get something really that they can connect with. How do you feel that great storytelling and kind of combined with social media can be harnessed by companies around the area of customer and employee experience?
So sometimes we see, very high polished videos, with ideas in terms of marketing and communication from enterprises. I feel it's much more interesting when you give the voice to people, and even if you don't do something as polished, you do something that is more genuine, where you are able to provide those who are using the solutions, employees, the opportunity for them to tell the story, to tell their own experiences. And if you do this, I think it will allow you to build trust within the space of the within the technology space where you are, and you are able to by bringing true stories instead of, like I was saying, instead of that polishing video. I think you are able to make a more significant impact because you are giving the audience the opportunity to listen from those who are actually working on the technology, experiencing the technology, and facing the problems. And also you are also giving the opportunity for people to be curious about other people that people usually are. And I think it's extremely powerful if you are able to bring those stories forward, where you are able to show that you are more, you are able to show faces of people, and I think it's definitely a way to improve communication.
Last question for you then. Thinking about your personal work life and how that continues to evolve, how would you like it to evolve in the near future? Where do you see it going next?
Well, what I mentioned part of that early in our conversation. In terms of going next, one of the things that I'm really obsessed today is how we improve the way how we collaborate in the organization. So that's an area that I really want. I want to do more work in that space. We have so many solutions that allow us to co-create together, at a distance. Today we're able to use Teams, we use other solutions where we're able to do design thinking sessions from different parts of the world. And that's an area that I feel that there's many areas to explore, to improve, to make that type of collaborative sessions more inclusive to everyone, and to take more value of today. We have people in different parts of the world, and sometimes it's not possible to bring everyone together, to fly to a place and join everyone there. So this space of remote collaboration is something that I'm very keen and focused of trying to find ways to improve. So that's something that is really in my attention, something that I really want to do go further.
Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to join us today, Antonio. Absolutely fascinating discussion. Really enjoyed it. Before we bid you thanks and goodbye, let the listeners know where they can follow you, find you, and hear your own podcast. Indeed.
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just check my name, and you should be able to find me as working for ATOS. You are able to find me on Twitter, and my podcast is focused on accessibility and digital inclusion. It's called AXSChat. We are doing it for 8 years, and we are always looking to find people from different parts of the world sharing stories about inclusion, because sometimes we know that the stories and the narrative around digital are sometimes very much centric about what's going on in the United States or in the United Kingdom or in Germany, and we're trying to find ways to find people in different parts of the world in order to learn from them, because in our world we have so many resources, and there's people out there in other countries where through ingenuity they're able to solve problems using different ways of using problem solving that can be very useful for us. That sometimes I feel that sometimes that I'm privileged, but it's very important that we look at how people are developing, trying to solve similar problems as we are in other locations. So it's something that we are very focused on, and is also an opportunity to tell that in this space of that we work on accessibility and inclusion, everyone can learn with each other. There's not really one vision, one way of doing things. So it's just that we need to come together and learn how we can all do things in a better and inclusive way.
Very well said, Antonio, and we implore our listeners to absolutely check it out. And just leaves for us to say thank you so much for coming on the DEX Show. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Antonio.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how NextThink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nextthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.